Does Magic Legends get any better? From the point of disappointment with the open beta, I mean. We've tried open beta, we discussed it, a lot of performance issues, a lot of lag, poor level design, a lot of things that we've discussed that are kind of sucky. But there is still a lot of interest and a lot of hopes, positive hopes for this game, so I decided to give it a little bit of a further try, to step a little further into all these woods and all into the world of cards and magic, etc. And today I'd like to report to you if I see some things that are actually getting better and that might be worth your time, investment. If this is your cup of tea, if you're interested in this topic, please stick around, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, I'm your host Gyro here, welcome back to the channel. We talk about Magic Legends once again while the open beta is still going in full swing. So I've released a video where I said that open beta is in a pretty horrific state, where the launch of the game and performance of the game and a lot of other kind of things remind me of 1995, the glorious year that it was. So a lot of things still suck. I'm not taking away anything that I've already said about the game, but I think because of how beloved the universe of Magic cards is, Magic the Gathering is for me, I think that the game deserves a little bit of interest, and I can see from my audience that you guys and girls are also a little bit interested in this game still. So let me talk to you a little bit about a few extra kind of hours that I spent in the game, looking at a different class and honestly trying to find things that would be worthy of your attention and that might justify some time spent in the game. Some things that do get better. Okay, so first of all, just to get the obvious out of the way, especially if you didn't watch my first initial overview of the beta video, let's very quickly point out things that still suck. You do not need to tell me that they suck. I know that they suck. First of all, balance of classes and abilities. It is obvious that some abilities are undertuned, some classes are performing worse than others, but this part definitely can be justified by the fact that it's only an open beta. This can and most likely will be tuned, will be fine-tuned for launch. I have no doubt about that. I mention it here because currently it feels sucky and I'm just mentioning it for completeness purposes. Overall performance of the game still sucks. Too many glitches. I'm still seeing a lot of glitches past tutorial, going a little further into the game. They're still there. There are instances of pretty horrible lag and FPS dropouts. The lack of enemies really leaves me dumbfounded. I cannot believe that they got this so wrong, creating this ARPG. Lack of enemies while you have to run on foot across huge distances on the map, huge distances. You run for what feels like 10 minutes without seeing one enemy. This is just plain boring and tells you that creators of the game might be good, I suspect, at Magic the Gathering cards themselves and maybe at math and balancing and whatnot, but they certainly have never designed an ARPG in their lives. And I'm even honestly questioning whether or not they have played Diablo or Path of Exile or something like this for longer than an hour. I'm sorry, I look at this level design and I am just left dumbfounded, as I said. I simply could not believe that they expected this game to compete in ARPG genre with some other much better established and much better designed action RPGs. Now, the contentious point of the game shop has to be mentioned here. It has some items that definitely could be seen as pay to win. Stay tuned for a separate video that I'll try to make as factual and as non-ranty as possible, because this is a big topic. People love to talk about it. It bothers me, it bothers you, and this topic deserves justice and cannot just be mentioned quickly here as a bullet point. That's why there will be a separate video, especially if you tell me in the comments down below that you are interested in this topic. If you do tell me, if there are a lot of people interested, this will influence prioritization on my end, and this video will come to you sooner rather than later. Finally, I'll mention, I already said it, but design of missions, some of the missions. And we'll talk about this in a bit. At least the one that I've done in this game, which was a group content mission with a group of random people. It was, if that is anything to go by, the mission was too primitive for words, quite boring and unengaging. but there were also some good things to say about it as well, which we will start talking about in a moment. So, does it get better? Yes, especially if you're a Magic the Gathering fan, especially if you enjoy the core mechanic of basically relying on your abilities, not as permanently unlockable things that sit there on a button, but if the whole idea that your abilities are powered by a deck of cards that you're accumulating and that you can modify in your library. If that idea appeals to you, if you are potentially a card player, I suppose, and in this case it's kind of an interesting wedlock of a card game and an ARPG game, if that core design appeals to you in general, then I think that this thing needs to be mentioned front and center. So that I think is very, very good, and that's where it does get a little bit better. So what other points can I say that do get specifically better? Well, first of all, I've seen some other Planeswalkers, some other classes. So first, or in the first video, I did rely on the footage and on the first experience with the Beastcaller class, Planeswalker, that I tried at first. I actually didn't mind it too much. You can watch that video for a little bit more, I suppose, my feedback on the beasts and how they perform and how they look on the screen and stuff like that. This time around I tried some others. So mostly on this footage that you're seeing here is me playing a Necromancer. So a Necromancer is Summoner of the Dead, to put it very simply here and not go into detail. I found her as, well, in this particular tuning pass, in this particular beta, I found her a lot stronger than Beastcaller, at least at my low level. I seem to be able to dispatch of enemies a lot faster, regain health faster. I'm just a lot more effective in solo and in a group, as the practice, very brief practice shows. When I was in a group content that we'll talk about in a minute, I also saw characters who were playing a water and fire, manipulating characters, and their abilities, at least from the side, looked quite interesting too. So I actually quite enjoyed that. It did look appealing, if nothing else. So that was quite interesting, probably worth mentioning as well. Now, where did I play as a group content? There is a mission here, at least in open beta, at least in early game, called Hedron Rush. It's like a mini dungeon, or arena as it's called here. Look, I liked it. I liked that, I liked it to an extent, okay? I liked it to an extent. I liked that you can just walk around the world and, you know, we have issues with the world. We don't think that it's populated enough with danger. We think it's boring. That's fine. But you still walk along the map, and then you stumble upon a point where you can effectively queue for this, let's call it a dungeon, because a lot of us understand the word dungeon better than we understand local terminology here in this game. And you queue for it, and then boom, rather seamlessly, you're suddenly in a group with 2 other people in your party, and off you go into that arena area or into the mission area together. It has its own map, you have to enter it. It's not very seamless, performance still sucks, but I like the fact that seamlessly you are auto match made with a group of people, with 2 other people, into a group, I mean. So playing Diablo and Path of Exile as 2 most prominent other competing, I suppose, ARPGs on the market that we currently can compare to, we don't have really that type of seamless experience of grouping up and automatically match made with people. We have that, well, relatively seamless in places more like World of Warcraft rather than ARPGs. So we can group up with other people in Diablo, Path of Exile, you know, Minecraft Dungeons if we have to go that far. But we have to create a party first. And then, let's say, we find some mission to go and do in Minecraft Dungeons. Or we find a Nephilim or Greater Rift to do something together. It's comparable, but it's not exactly like this. Here I felt more seamless with the world, by design as well. And I liked it. This is the bit that, in my opinion, gets better. It does make me feel better about the game or its potential. That's just how I feel. And obviously I wish for much snappier experience and performance, because performance sucks everywhere in those transitions, in the open world, in the arena, when the mobs start coming to you. Like, my biggest complaint is the emptiness of the world, lack of that constant ARPG like fun, and yeah, and just performance. These are my main continued criticisms of the game, and I pray that somehow the developers of the game hear this and somehow they will do something to salvage the game, because we need it salvaged. It has potential. The mission itself, Hadron Rush, that I'm mentioning here, the group mission, was boring by design. It was also boring. They need to rethink how they plan these missions. So running around this Hadron, whatever it is, and defending it from spawning waves of mobs from different sides of the map, where you just have to run around the map and see which edge of the screen the mobs are gonna come from. It's really, really boring. But having said that, when we generally experience these games kind of in either deliberately social content where we have to create groups ourselves and a lot of us don't want to do it, or when we do it solo, in this case somehow seamlessly match made into a group with people and just doing a very quick, very clear, so it's boring but it's clear. So there is some goodness in the fact that the target, the purpose of why we're there very quickly in that arena area together, it's not bad. It's not bad. It felt actually somewhat nice. I thought that the very simple, straightforward purpose, let's defeat this, let's defend this point together, guys and girls, and let's move on, that was fine. I think it's actually alright. I think it's alright. So I'm just hoping that further than this Hadron, which I may or may not ever have patience to play to, you know, I just hope that other missions, other similar missions offer something a lot more engaging and a lot more interesting. That's all I'm saying. So all I'm saying is that while a lot of stuff still sucks here and they have a lot of work to do, Cryptic Studios, let's give them a little tiny bit of credit where that credit is due. Some parts of the game are not terrible. The core concept of the game that's built around a deck of cards that you can modify and assemble and they power your abilities while in combat is solid. I do believe still that that's not too bad, and that's where the game does get better. Finally, I'll mention something else that might create polarizing views, but I think Taylor that you find in town is an interesting system, which is kind of more seamlessly integrated transmogrification system, very similar in the world, I mean, very similar to World of Warcraft, very similar to Diablo. Of course, the world is empty right now, and all there is in that town is basically that Taylor. There is nothing else to do. There are no other, I suppose, interesting systems to interact with. There are no vendors, there is nothing like that, there is no bank, there is nothing, no personal stash of items, at least I didn't find one. There is just that Taylor that allows you to actually customize your look quite a lot, to pretty much modify the look of any part of your clothing, you know, any part of a segment of your equipment. Was alright. It was a pass mark from me. It didn't make me excited, but I did like that it is there. Once again, I did mention the shop, and I know that Taylor comes dangerously close to the shop, to what appearances you probably could unlock with the help of a shop. So we're not going to talk about the shop and what makes it pay to win or not, by the way. How do we define pay to win and that kind of stuff? We'll leave it for another time, especially if there is interest among my community and among visitors. If you're just a visitor and not a member of the community, please consider showing your support, especially if you like this video, and if you leave a comment or even just like the video right now, that tells me that you want to see more of that kind of stuff, even if you're not a subscriber just yet, but only considering to join our little club. I am just here to have fun. I like to have fun regardless of what are the most prominent games on my channel. So I am looking for this interaction with the community and opportunities to grow further and have fun while doing it. So with that, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today and listening to me, and hopefully you share some of your opinions about the game in the comments down below. We don't have to all love it, I certainly don't, but at the same time I see so much potential in this game and I wish it all the best of luck, just to kind of at least even compete on the market in its own little niche, if they get it right. Thanks again for tuning in, stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, like the video please if you don't mind. See you later, bye bye.